Tell the people why you're here, LP.
Yo, man, listen. Hey, first off, appreciate to the chat, everybody. You know the deal. You know what's up. Major fan of you guys. Um, you know, so pretty much the reason why I'm here and why the fellas are letting me on is because we really got to kill this Nas noise with Jim Jones. The shit's got to stop, dog. And you know what I'm saying? Like, there's people that have defended Nas, but like even the people that defended Nas, they're not talking about what's currently happening, right? So when you're listening to Shannon Sharp, where you're listening to all these cats that are defending him, they're just only talking about what he did in the past, right? So when Jim Jones talks about right now, they don't know what to say. You know what I mean? Either because they don't want to fucking like cause friction with Jim Jones because they might get jumped if he gets starts crying and shit. You know what I'm saying? And or because they really just don't know. You know, I don't think Fat Joe really knows what Nas been doing lately because he thinks he's doing something, right? I don't think Jada really even pays attention to everything like that. So, like even a Shannon Sharp, you know, he's not a hip hop head, but he off the strength, you're not touching Nas, right? But then he starts talking about Nas being retired, right? Like Nas is retired, he's hung it up. He ain't hung shit up. He's making an album right now with DJ Premier. It's they literally marketed it. We could debate Mass Appeal's marketing, but it's out there. The news is out there. So,
Oh,
so
back up,
first
back
of
up,
all,
back up, back up, back up. You said we can debate mass appeals marketing.
yeah, you look. There's been a debate
That's
about
a
the
that's a
quality.
whole Discord thing, Coop. You would
Right,
know if
right, right.
you would know
That's
if he was in the Discord, but we
yeah,
let's keep it
yeah, yeah.
focused.
First of all,
Let's keep it
first of
That's a
focused.
all,
little.
I'm not in the Discord because I don't negotiate with terrorists, and it's bombs over Baghdad. And
Yeah, man. I'm just saying, man. They love you and hate you, bro. You know, you got the space in there. Um,
might
um,
do a special guest appearance just because you said something this week.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Go check
It's
it
not
out, man.
special though.
Nah,
Like
nah.
it's just an appearance.
Yeah, you're just in there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I get 16 bars and I gotta go.
it's like
16
Sean. He
bars,
goes to
nigga.
Denny's and somebody buys him some pancakes because he's a veteran or some shit. So maybe
I'm
somebody
not
will look
saying
out for you. You know
that.
what
I
I
like
mean?
my
Like,
eggs scrambled. First of all, I don't like pancakes like that. Like my eggs scrambled with cheese, nice little grilled chicken breast. All right.
Sean hits up every IHOP just looking for some free waffles. You know, he comes in all uniform. Like, hey, man, you know, what's up? I need
I
some
used to have the plug.
flapjacks.
I used to have the plug at the IHOP on South Cobb Drive.
Dude, this dude play too much, man. That's why I didn't want to bring him home. Man.
Oh man, yo, going to going to IHOP in your uniform is crazy.
All dressed up, shiny shoes and all. Them shoes been shining like a motherfucker, boy.
I've
You
actually
know,
been to IHOP in a
Report for pancakes, sir. Report for pancakes.
he knows when it's endless shrimp. You know what I mean? Like, yo, what's up, man? You eating that hop because of me?
Yo,
Yeah.
chill, man, chill. We can't
Yo,
stay.
yo, stay focused, Em. Stay
All right,
focused.
my bad, my bad, my bad, my bad, my bad.
Yo,
I'm trying to get in the rhythm because we gonna cook. You know, so so dog. So right. So what was I saying? So yeah. So what we want to do is we want to break down what Jim Jones been saying, but we want to counter it with straight facts. There's nobody, in my opinion, that I feel is as knowledgeable as you guys are and as we are about Nas's legacy, what he's done, and we're going to be completely objective. This isn't subjective. This isn't my opinion. This isn't, oh, Coop feels this way or Sean or AG. This is all fucking fact and only that. And that's what we're going to base it off of, right? So if I can kick it off then, um, we're going to dissect it in my mind, and then you guys jump in and do however you guys want to do it, right? But I'm going to start with, because I really want to focus on 2020 and present, because everybody seems to talk about Nas's legacy and they're not really talking about 2020, but we got to bring it back a little bit. And I think we're doing a little bit of fan service to some of us Nas heads that have always felt a way about certain things that's become the narrative that ain't true, right? So let's start with Jim Jones saying that Nas was always second to DMX and Jay-Z, right? He said that, right? He said Nas always came in second to them. All right, cool. There's a line that's a fucking lie where Jay-Z said that 4 albums in 10 years, I can divide, right? When he said that, he was going back to Illmatic in 94. No, I'm sorry. He was going back to main source live at the barbecue. So he's saying that 10-year average is from main source to 2001 Stillmatic, right? That era. He's saying that's 10 years. But then when he does his math, he starts at reasonable doubt. So you're saying that you're counting Nas's first appearance to his first rap, but you're counting yourself to your first album. When in reality, and mind y'all, I'm like cannabis. I got a whole book of rhymes in this motherfucker, so I'm gonna be going on my phone to pull the facts. You know what I'm saying? Jay-Z's first appearance, and you can look this shit up, was HP Gets Busy in 1986. Literally, if you go on YouTube right now, you can look that up, and that was the first time that he was recorded, and then you can listen to it right now. But we won't even go with 1986. We'll just push that over to the side. He was Jazzy Jeff to Jazz O on Hawaii Sophie fame. He's coming down from the fucking parachute and shit like that. That's 1989, right? Like, yo, this is true story, right? We're not right. This is facts, right? Go right now. Go watch the video. He's coming down.
Hold on, LP. I hear what you're saying, but this isn't about Jay. This is about what Jim said about Nas, and so
he's working to it. He's working, but Jim did say that quote about Jay-Z and DMX.
No, because I can hear where you're going. So let me share something with you before you go a little bit further. For me, at this stage in the game, because I've done enough studying of these guys because of being in this space, that it comes back to, well, who's the source? And so what I'm going to say to you is that, well, a lot of guys from New York, LP, because they're from New York and been involved in hip hop, talk like they're the source and they might not be ahead. When Jim Jones talk, I go listen to Cam talk. Cam is the head. Cam is the one that knows. And so when Jim is talking, I treat it like it's somebody that really doesn't know, like he says he knows. He's projecting it like he says he knows. But go listen to Cam and Mace talk, and then you'll listen to Jim talk. Just on some rap shit. Like, forget all the Harlem stuff. Forget the street shit. Go listen to them talk on some rap shit.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. Cam and Mace run it down in real time because Cam and Mace was really there. And so, we all have to understand a guy that's speaking that wasn't there.
Right. No, I feel you. And we're going to get to the Cam part because, trust me, this is all surgical. But in regards to the Jay-Z stuff, first off, what I'm referencing is literally Jay's lines about that he said that. He said he's comparing the 10, Smarten Up Nas, all that. I'm only bringing that back to say
it's rap, though. It's rap. It's hyperbole. I don't expect him. Like, I expect him to make his point more than
yeah. So, cool. You understand that it's hyperbole. The masses treat that as fact. They believe that. They think that that's a thing. So when Jim Jones is saying you've always been second to J and X, the problem is that people are like, yeah, that's true. Look how long it took for it was written to get its proper due, because the minute that he said, people were like, yeah, you know what? It wasn't really that good, right? So when I'm going back to where Jay-Z is talking about, again, his first actual song where he's on video is 1990 with the Originators. That's 1 year before Nas is on Live at the Barbecue. So now going back to the Jim Jones part, because it's not to knock Jay. I fucks with Jay. I'm clowning. I mean, come on, you got a fucking pineapple on a turntable. We got to joke on that a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But now if you go, like, that's true, right? So if you go with, since they were both equally, that means that they were both on the song together. Was Nas behind Jay in 1991? No. Was he behind in 92? No. Was he behind in 93? No. 94? Absolutely not. 95? No. Keep in mind, Jay was rapping with the Originators and doing his own thing during that time. 96, the first time that they both equally had albums out, It Was Written did 270 first week. Ready to Die did 43K first week. This is just a fact, right? So again, no. 97, The Firm, 147 first week, debuted at number 1, volume 1. Actually, 138 debuted at number 3 with Puff, much better. 98 is the first time that you could legitimately say that Hove was ahead of Nas because of volume 2, right?
Nas was shooting a movie.
Feel me? But if you want to give it to Hove in 98, that's cool. You go to 99. This is the interesting thing about it. Nas dropped 2 albums in 99. The first one was I Am. First week sales was 470,000. His second week, Nostradamus, the second album did 232,000. Volume 3 did 462. That means that I Am sold more first week. And I'm using the numbers because these are the parameters that they use. We know that we don't care about that, but they do. So we're going to kill you with that because, again, when they defend Nas, it's only about how great he raps and everything else. And they try to dismiss and they can't defend the numbers because they don't think that they exist when they're there the whole time. The man did 470 off I Am. In 99, Nas was bigger, one would argue, than Nas. I mean, than
on a
Jay
on a bootlegged album.
on
I
a
might add.
bootlegged album.
with you that if that album doesn't get bootlegged, it does more like 600 or 700.
Bam.
Or if it's a
Exactly.
double album, it probably goes plat the first week.
Easy, right? Because it counts as two.
I feel like this: if the album doesn't get bootleg, it does 5 or 6 just as a single copy, which means it does go platinum as a double the first week.
Easily. Yo, fellas,
Right.
I don't want to get too far behind the super chats. We got 3 super chats real quick. I want to get to.
Throw them up.
Can you
Hold
see
on
it?
one second. Hell no. Oh yeah, I can see it now. Mojo, Guardian, The Times, Uncut, Pitchfork, all got Pet Sounds on their top 10 album list. Wake up, Coop.
Yo, Armand is going back at cool. Like, it's personal. It's personal, and I'm okay with it.
No. First of all, man, just because our names are similar, don't mean that our takes are similar. Doesn't mean it's on my level. That might be a top 10 album, but it's more like 9 or 10. If it's making the top 10, it's more like 9 or 10. It's not better than Purple Rain. It's not better than Thriller. It's not better than What's Going On. It's not better than Songs in the Key of Life. It's not better than Revolver. It's not better than Sgt. Pepper. It's not better than Rumors. It's not better than Blue. That's just off the top of my head. Like, I know that for a fact. Like, that's off the top of my head. It's not better than any of those albums. I can probably throw in Stevie's Intervisions on top of that. It's not better than Intervisions either. Shit, it might not be better than the White Album by the Beatles. What the fuck are we talking about, our man? Next, LP, back in. More super chats.
There's another one.
Our man wants smoke today. Our man, you want some smoke today? You gonna get some smoke today since you want
more.
Yo, shout out to Dub, man. He said LP is much watch TV. Let's go. Salute.
Double Barrel, you one of them terrorists in the Discord, ain't you?
Absolutely, he's one of
Absolutely
Double Barrels that guy.
Yep, got a fan base.
Anybody named
My peoples, man.
Discord is Double Barrel. Love Me No More and Bird Gang Money made me a fan of Capo. Oh, that's great. Good for you. Okay.
Yeah, man, you better than me. You know. So where were we? 99, right?
Yeah.
Now 2000. If you want to give it to Jay, that's for Nas. You know that. Oh my. You can see that. Come on, man. You know.
Please don't do that.
That's
Hold on.
wild, man.
First of all, you want to talk about getting demonetized?
My bad.
I'm talking about getting demonetized. The channel might not even work next week.
You know what I'm
He
saying?
did that.
I kind of feel away because I got the island hat on to match the King's Disease shirt. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, if a harness like pull me up out of here, don't say
Yo.
Look at his feet.
Please.
Yo, that's crazy.
Look, whatever money is left on the table after you've done that about 3 or 4 times, I'd like to take. So if you just please stop. I like this channel to be here tomorrow.
He knows he shot that footage.
There's no sound.
Yo, chill, man. I seen that shit this morning. I couldn't believe they had a pineapple on the turntable.
Word on the street is that he might be petty. So
he is petty. Yeah, I won't do it again. Sorry, Jay. Sorry, Hov. That's just my passion talking.
Yo, if you go in IHOP with the full uniform boy and then decline the discount, then you know something's up.
Yeah.
Report for pancakes, sir. My bad.
So all right, cool, man. Getting shit back in order, right? So this is 99. So now again, 2000. If you want to give it to Hov, that's cool. 2001. If you wanted to give it to Hov, that's cool. But we know what happened in 2001. Ether and Stillmatic. You might still give it to him anyway. 2002.
Okay,
Godson.
2001 might be Jay because Ether doesn't drop till December 4th.
Right. That's why
Jay is winning 2001 all the way through the year until the end of the year.
Jay
right.
got the MVP. Nas won the championship.
It's also
That's
one of
it.
those things. If you're winning on the cards, if you're winning on round 9, then round 10 you get knocked out. There's also an argument for that to be made too. Yeah, it looked good. You was dancing all over him. It looked like he was cooked, and then he got you out of there.
So
So
here's the thing about it. Okay, LP, because of the battle, I think people forget. Oh no, Jay was having one of the best years ever before that. That's what I mean. It is like, oh no, we can't discount one of the. Like, how about this? You can't take away the Warriors' 73 wins. It's still the most wins anybody ever had in a season, as far as a regular
But
season.
it's with an asterisk though. You gotta seal the deal. You gotta close it.
No. There is no asterisk. During the regular season, they went
Yeah.
79. Like that's a fact. There's no asterisk next to 73-9. It's still the most regular season
On the
NBA
numbers, but
wins
when you
ever.
talk about it, what's first thing that come up? But
Yes,
it's a but.
yes. But the but is
It's
coming
asterisk.
with no. There is no actual asterisk though. That's what I'm saying. Is that no? It doesn't take them not winning the
Yeah,
championship.
he can
Doesn't.
have the regular season award.
But that's what I'm saying. There's two separate awards though, and so there's not
Yeah,
an asterisk. There's a regular season, and Jay won that regular season as well as anybody won a regular season. That's the part that's missed about 2001. No, he's rocking in 88 and 2001.
yeah,
That's
I
why
look.
everybody like people forget this. Nas is still a respected MC when this is going on. People were talking like he didn't have a shot because of how Jay was performing. People were talking like Nas didn't have a shot. No, that's 73-9. So it's like, did he win the championship? No, but he went 73-9 that year. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I could give Hove 2001,
That's what
especially
makes Nas's
because
victory. How about this? Nas's victory is so sweet because Jay just got done going 73-9.
and he had Michael Jackson on the stage. He definitely buried
That's part
Prodigy
of the
and love
73 and
him.
that's what I
Right,
mean.
right. So,
Yeah.
but it is interesting that of all the MCs at that time that could actually do that to Hove, it was Nas, right? And
He's
then
the
if you want to
guy.
go beyond the years 2002, 2003, I think at that point Nas had a different arc in regards to what he was trying to do with his career, based off hip hop is dead and Untitled. Jay-Z was doing Budweiser commercials. Beyonce, I think it was two split paths at that point. Where Nas is trying to be more artistic, and Hove is going for that. So anytime after that, if you want to give it to Hove, cool. Then let's get back to the DMX talk of it, right? Because who was bigger than DMX in '98 and '99? Nobody, right? So saying that Nas was coming behind, pause, uh, uh, X in 98, 99, 2000 is not a knock on him because nobody was touching X in 99, including 98 and 99, including Jay. Actually, I don't have the numbers for It's Dark and Hell is Hot, and but because it doesn't matter because we just know he destroyed 98. That's not even a question, right? But even in 99, right, when he dropped and then there was X, he did 698 first week, right? 698,000. That's the same month that Jay dropped. So don't tell me that there's an argument for anybody being bigger than DMX in 98, 99. Now, Sean brought up the 2000. One could argue that you could possibly give it to M. I think Chronic was super big during that time. And then you brought up Ja Rule, but even Rule
Nelly.
336 did like 276 first week. Nelly. So there's that argument there. But and I love X. He's in my personal top 10. Past 2001, there was a sharp decline in DMX's artistic music. The messaging was gone. He was going through a lot of personal things and all that type of shit. So the peak that DMX's peak was what it was. There was nobody that was touching X, period. So that's not even like a knock on anybody because who was, right? So
Can I pause you 1 second? Just because we missed one thing back in '96. So we're talking about domination of Jay-Z, domination of DMX, who are both New York artists that both went #1 on Billboard, right? But nobody talks about, the pundits don't bring this up. Nas is the first Black New York hip hop artist solo to go #1 on Billboard, and that was with It Was Written. far as New York rap artists to go number one on Billboard before that, you had Vanilla Ice, who's from New York, who is white. We didn't count him. You had the Beastie Boys as a group who went number one. We're not counting them. We're talking about their group. We're talking about solo artists, black artists from New York. It Was Written was the first black New York solo album to go number one on Billboard. So whether you put in like X, Jay-Z, Ja Rule, a lot of people that you just named from New York, 50 Cent, that went number one on Billboard, one guy was the first. That's Nas. Nobody talks about that.
Okay,
That's
so
crazy. And then, and sorry, Coop, I would ask AG, what black, musician had gone number one, period, in any genre from New York or otherwise outside of like Michael Jackson or something like that? Had Marvin Gaye ever gone number one? Stevie Wonder went number one on Billboard? Because back then the music is timeless, but it didn't reflect in the
Well,
charts.
I was just strictly putting it to New York hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Mike's from Indiana, but yeah, Nas was the first from NY. You know, so but
Right,
people
right.
don't talk
That's
about
right.
that.
He is from Indiana. I was thinking about, yeah,
AG,
yeah, yeah.
AG, that's a very astute point because
Hmm.
I think okay. So here's some of the thing that happens with the discourse when you have to have a Nas conversation that I've learned. He's okay. So most of the art people need to understand this. Most of the artists that he actually came into the game with are literally gone.
Yeah, and Biggie wasn't the first to do it. Common like conventional wisdom would probably tell you Biggie was the first, but Biggie was not the first to go
I
number
think
one on Billboard with an
I
album.
think it's to say he's more of a legacy artist than people really realize. And I say that because his legacy actually happened when hip hop made its big transition. And he was part of the kickoff to the transition. Like he's part of it's an art form and craft that we love into a money marketing making machine thing for people. Like, okay, how about this? DMX's career is more comparable to Rakim's career than Nas is because it's like really more like a 5 or 6, 7 year run where it's like, oh
Yeah.
no, you got guy for that time, but outside of that, and so Nas's circumstances are a little bit different in terms of what he had to navigate through because like his main counterparts literally got murdered while the game was changing.
Right.
And so his arc and the way people view him is so dispersed. Like if you go ask a KRS-One or a Scarface or one of those older guys that are actually older than Nas about Nas, they like, oh my God. You go ask somebody from our era about Nas, it's like, oh my God, even if they're a J guy or an X guy or whoever or a Pac guy. And then there's that transition where the money became the thing and he didn't become the guy because it wasn't about rap anymore. But listen to what I'm telling you. Part of why I'm not paying this shit no mind. Notice now that he got more money than all these niggas. Now they want to talk about music. Notice ain't no more money conversations. Now we want to have music conversations and all these other conversations. It's like, oh, I thought it was. First of all, I thought it was the nigga wasn't getting money like y'all was. You know what I'm saying? So
They
Right,
can't compare in either arena.
I can
right. See,
I can see now where they're switching the narrative because like here's the thing about it. Now his net worth is registered as such that it's like, oh well, these niggas that was talking this money shit and he gotta be real quiet because his money has exceeded theirs
Yeah.
by leaps and bounds to the point that they better shut up and forever stay quiet because he got the type of money that can make them be quiet. Like you get
Yeah.
to a point where you got certain type of money where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go buy whatever it is that they got so I can control them.
Yeah.
well,
It's
and
a lot
that
of
that
goalpost movement. It goes from money to rapping to
right,
Right,
influence,
that's what
you
I'm saying.
know.
Like, when did we get to
right,
talking
right,
about?
right.
When did we get to talking about Nas and Jim Jones when it comes to like hits and music? It's like people aren't seeing where it's like, oh no, hold on, I thought y'all was out here getting the money and he wasn't the
Yeah.
guy getting the money. Now he
Yeah.
got the money and y'all don't want to have a money conversation. Let's
Well,
have a
well,
money
well, well
conversation.
right. See,
Wasn't that thing?
Coop.
That the thing with Jay, right? The thing with Jay was the money conversation. Let's have the money conversation with Nas now.
So Coop, exactly. See, and this is why we're breaking it down the way that we're breaking it down because we're covering all of that shit so that there's no conversation, there is no debate. But we're going to entertain it because everybody else whose platform he gets on, they don't know, right? Or they don't know, or they're too scared to
Oh, you
speak
know
on
what?
DJ
What
Clue
Cube
sitting
say they
there.
don't know or they don't show, right?
There you
Right,
go.
right, right, right. So
There you
so
go.
so So that's just one part of it, was just the X and J thing, right? Where one could whoever you were a fan of is whatever. So objectively, based off of the numbers, now is right there. If not, he was number one during an extended period of time, where they're saying that that wasn't the case. Now going, because I really want to get to the present when it comes to the numbers about the relevancy and everything else that we're discussing, right? I broke it down because AG, you wanted to give Jim Jones the benefit of the doubt and kind of go with some of his earlier albums in comparison to Nas, right? Again, they
Let's
wanted to
let's
bring up the
frame that a
number.
little differently. I didn't want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was just
Oh,
trying
my
to
bad,
give
my
the
bad.
nigga
That's
a
to be funny.
chance.
Right. Let's be fair to Jim Jones. His first album, On My Way to Church in 2004, did 44K. Street Disciple, same year, 232K first week. 2006, Hustlers POME. That is the album that every Jim Jones fan says is his best shit. Ballin' is on it, all of that. He does 106. Hip hop is dead. Remember, he's not going for radio hits. He's on a whole different trajectory as far as the messaging of his music. 355,000 first week. Okay, he's already doing more than Jim Jones' whole career in one album, right? 2019, El Capo, 21,000. Lost Tapes 2, right? Which is a throwaway for the most part. 23,000 first week. So El Capo, one of his biggest albums, is still not touching Nas's throwaway album. Then I went back to Nasir because he did Wasted Talent. There's no data on that. Do they say how, you know how they say like everything stays on the internet? Apparently not Jim Jones album sales, right?
Didn't
Nasir did
register.
70.
I'm about to say,
It didn't register.
this is what I'm saying though.
Nasir
Okay?
did 77,000 first week.
But this is the thing though, is like okay, so that's the part of it that I struggle with. It's like, okay, so has this stuff going viral? Yeah, it has, but I don't like the source. I don't think the source deserves the amount of attention that it's getting.
But
It,
nobody's giving them the proper pushback. That's why, you know what I'm saying, LP's on here to break it down for him.
no, no, no,
Yeah,
no, no.
because
I
they're
get
they're
that.
gonna.
I get that. I get that. I get that. But like, so somebody I learned from about 15 years ago told me, like, people do a good job of firing themselves without you doing anything at all sometimes. Like when I'm watching his interviews and stuff, I'm like, oh no, like let him go ahead and talk himself out of like all of it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's that part of it too, where sometimes a wise man told me don't argue with fools because people from a distance
This
can't
can't
tell
tell who's. Well, it's
who's
like they
Now,
say,
forget
give
that. We
somebody.
ignorant tonight. Go ahead, LP.
Right.
Like we ignorant
What they
tonight.
say, you give somebody enough rope to either save themselves or hang themselves.
Right.
And Jones is doing his best Jay-Z, Hawaii Soul fame rendition.
Nah.
Okay.
With the rope, we
You know what I
yanking
mean?
Jim up out of here. Like, yeah,
Right,
with
right, right.
Hawaii. So that's what we doing with the rope right now.
And
Keep
Coop,
going,
in the
LP.
grand scheme of things, I completely agree with you. But when the narrative is continue to live on, and then he's going on quote unquote legitimate platforms, still being able to get away with this, somebody got to start breaking this shit down with
are
actual
those.
data.
I would push back again and tell you how legitimate are those platforms
Oh,
because
I feel you, but to the amount of views and who pays attention to them and who reviews them and who reacts to them and everything else, it's a platform that people pay attention to. And I do want to get to a bigger point about Jim Jones's approach to this and how he thinks that this is a positive approach, right? So anyway, I'm gonna clear up the numbers thing because we're gonna kill all that shit, right? So again, now that was 2018. Now we're in the 2020s. Now we're in the past 5 years. We're in the KD run, the run that people do not want to acknowledge or think that Nas was doing his thing during this whole fucking run, right? In 2022, he does Lobby Boys, right? That shit does 11,000. KD3 does 29,000 first week. Okay, so his album already that people don't act like it exists is already doing better than Jim Jones and Mano's album. 2022,
Not
he
to
did
mention KD3's number 10 on Billboard.
right. This is in 22 because he did the fraud department, which had no data. He did Lobby Boys, did 11K. KD3 does 29,000, right? 2023, back in my prime, no data. Nas does 16K with Magic 2 and 15K with Magic 3. And then in 2025, Jim Jones does 3,600 with At the Church's Steps. right? So his last album did 3,600, and he's on here talking about billboards and numbers and how he's more relevant. And the
But it's
thing
popping
about
now. Coop sold more than that of his album out the trunk in Atlanta.
right,
Absolutely.
yo,
I actually
Canopy,
did.
that was your single, Canopy,
Yo,
I actually
right?
did. Yes, I actually did.
Yeah.
I actually did.
So
I've
so
actually gotten check. I've actually gotten checks from iTunes. Yes.
oh shit, right? So play on player. So the point is that Jim Jones has never and the thing about numbers is that when you start talking about relevancy, they will bring up the numbers to talk about how relevant somebody is. So when DJ Vlad, when 21 Savage said that Nas wasn't relevant, he brought up the numbers and he said, well, look at the numbers. They're telling you the truth because he's comparing it to a Drake or a K dot or these cats that were doing 100 and 200,000 as if to say that, well, Nas is only doing 30K, right? So, and here's the numbers, right? KD1 does 47,000 in 2020, 56,000 for KD2, 29,000 for KD3. M1 does 22K, M2 16, M3 15. Cool. These are the relevant artists of the 2020s. Griselda, love Griselda. Their total streams, West Side does 2.8 million. Benny does 1.6. Conway does 1.2. All together, as a unit, they get 5.6 million streams per month. Nas does 9.2. Do we all agree that Griselda is relevant?
Yo,
Yes.
man, stop playing with LP and pass the collection plate around. Stop playing.
So do we all believe that Griselda is relevant? Yes, right? How is Nas not relevant if the standard is the numbers, right? Then you talk about Benny's best album, Tana Talk 2, 4, sorry, did 20K first week. Already M1 did more than that, and that was a ghost drop. Then you have Everybody Can Go. That did 19,000. That was on Def Jam. That was last year.
With
And
major promo.
with major promo,
Okay.
right?
So what I will tell you is that much like you don't like them moving the goalposts, well, we can't move the goalposts either. And so that's what I'm saying about what you're saying about the numbers. No, I understand what you're saying about the numbers, and the numbers are the numbers. I'm sorry, my dog just came in the house with my daughter.
Bro, you
And
looked at the dog. I thought I heard a dog. Then you're looking up like, how big is your dog, bro?
yeah,
I was looking like, yo, my dog walked in.
But nah, it's not moving the goalposts. LP speaking their language.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the whole
yeah.
point. That's
Yeah,
their
yeah,
language.
yeah, yeah. Like we don't. The thing is that the issue. Hey, so the thing is that we always got to compromise, right? Because true hip hop heads or true Nas fans or whatever the story is, we always got to be the we're bigger than this and it's not about the numbers and all that type of shit. And they use it to downplay them. And more so than it being a defense of Nas, and obviously this is that you defend the person that most personifies what hip hop stands for and what it is. And it happens to be him, right? So again, just to tie it all up, because they're saying that he wasn't relevant in the 2020s. Here's some other artists that are quote unquote relevant. Freddie Gibbs, my guy. Alfredo, 31,000 first week. SSS, 21,000 first week. Joey Badass, love the album. Coop, you didn't like it so much. 2,000, 22,000 first week. Ice Spice, is she relevant? Yes. 15K first week. Other album, 28K first week. Sexy Red, 28K first week. Quavo, 32. Meek and Ross did that album together, 31K. Wayne and 2 Chains, Polygrove 2, 34K. G Herbo, 20K, 22K, 29K. SG, 31K. Lil TJ, 21, 20K. A Boogie with the Hoodie, 51K, 26. Roddy Rich, 39K. Lotto, last year, 29K. Favi, 29K. Pusha, with Almost Dry, 55K. Then there's certain artists that dropped albums from the 2000s. T.I., he dropped an album in 2020. It did 23,000. Jeezy dropped an album. It did 29,000. Let's go back to Nas's era. Snoop Dogg, Street Suit did 834,000. That's it. Okay, just 834,000, right? Algo did 5K. Back on Death Row did 11K. Missionary, the missionary, the sequel did 38K. Mary J. Blige, Love Her to Death, she dropped an album, 25K. Mariah Carey dropped an album, 2020, did 21K. In 2018, she dropped an album that did 51K. Nas that same year did 77K. So please, when it comes to if the argument is that the numbers are the relevancy point, then how are any of these people relevant? But Nas isn't relevant, and he's doing the same numbers. And if one wanted to argue that he's dropping too much music, it's obviously not too much if people keep on purchasing it, right? So, and there's a different marketing approach that we can get to regarding to the Magic series versus KD, because KD, he actually at least does a week of promotion. M1, M2, M3, same week they're dropping, people are jumping, they're getting it. If you're on Instagram and Twitter, you get it. If you don't, you don't even know it exists to some fan bases, right? And then that goes to the Jim Jones part of it about relevancy, right? Because, okay, so let's say that they won't give Nas his credit because it's not about the numbers. All right, cool. So then if Ice Spice is relevant, it's because she's fine, right? If it's about Sexy Red, it's because she's doing what she's doing. So what is relevancy?
It's because who mainstream media tells you is relevant. This is a groupthink era. If mainstream media tells you these people are relevant, that's who's quote unquote relevant.
Right.
If they
And
don't talk about certain people, then they're irrelevant.
Right. And then to us hip hop heads, to Coop's point, and where the separation really stops, as a hip hop head, to me, relevancy is selling out Madison Square Garden. To me,
Yep.
relevancy is Yankee Stadium. Relevancy is doing a world tour with Wu-Tang, doing a tour with Mary J. Blige, doing a tour with Lauryn Hill, doing a residency in Vegas. We give everybody props for doing a residency in Vegas. Nas is doing Illmatic for the 30,000th time in 30 years, and you can go catch it right now. He's about to be in Berkeley doing it again with the symphony in San Francisco. That's where hip hop heads feel the relevancy is.
And
So
Jim is performing in front of crickets at Summer Jam. But go ahead, LP.
seriously, when Jim Jones is saying, I'm showing, you know, my generation how to stay relevant. This is how you do it. It's like, well, respectfully, if you feel like your way of being relevant is to troll and disrespect legends, then that's on you, dog. Let whoever follows you be following you. And then on top of that, if fucking the kids really do have your ear, let's say that let's say that he's right and he does have the kids' ear. That's what you're showing them. You're showing them that fuck the legacies, fuck hip hop, disrespect, do what you got to do to stay relevant. Like that, you're showing the next generation to disrespect the legends. And it's not just about Nas, because Pusha's a legend at that point. And if he wants to compete with Pusha, that's fine. But then you're also doing it to Styles P, right? So it's like, dog, if you feel that that's what you got to do to stay on, then that's cool, man. But keep that shit over there and don't bring it into what hip hop's got going on. And,
right.
and
Can I interject real quick? That's why the Nas thing caught so much fire and went viral more so than the Styles P and the Pusha T situations, not because of you know, that he can actually compete with those two guys. It's just how egregious it is that he brought up Nas's name and Nas's status in the game. That's why it caught fire and went viral, because you full on delusional bringing Nas into it. And then I think the whole thing with going with the youngins is like, he can sell that bullshit notion to him. He can't sell it to the people that really listen to him on his come up in his own era. Nas is his peer. He's not peers with the guys of this era. Hell, Kendrick Drake and J. Cole are old themselves at this point. You know what I'm saying? He's not their peers. He's Nas's peer, if anything. And my son be 18 tomorrow, as a matter of fact. He don't know who Jim Jones is, but he knows who Nas is.
you saw the video with the kids, and they asked him, and then nobody knew who Jim Jones was, and it was like 7. You know, like that's just a recent video that dropped. And here's the thing about the youth, right? They say that Jim Jones will say that, you know, I work with all the new cats and everything. Check me out. This is who Nas has worked with since 2020. He's worked with 21 Savage, Blast, Favi, A Boogie, YG, ASAP Ferg, ASAP Rocky, Corday, Freddie Gibbs, he's an old, but whatever, we'll give it to him. Metro Boomin, Hit Boy, Joey Badass, Lil Durk, Dave East, Don Toliver, Anderson .Paak. And that's just on his albums. So even when it comes to the youth, he's repping it with the youth. Now let's talk about the difference. While Jim Jones is out here trying to downplay the legends, Nas just helped Slick Rick put out his first album in 40-something years or whatever. Nas put EPMD on his album, then put Eminem on the song with EPMD, right? Nas brought Slick Rick and G Rep out to Madison Square Garden. That's a fact. That's what happened.
Oh, G Rap
Also,
was Yankee Stadium. G Rap was Yankee
Yankee
Stadium.
Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. So then you have the fund, right? Rakim is eating. He probably spent all that money on his production and the features and shit. But he
No, don't do that.
he got. I'm telling you, half of that budget went to the features. You know what I'm saying? So, but he got paid. Scarface got paid.
Yeah.
Kumo D got paid. You know,
Hold on.
Roxanne Shante got paid.
Let's not get it twisted. Slick Rick didn't just pay for that movie.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No, exactly. And then look at what he's doing with the current theme, right? The whole Mass Appeal thing that's happening right now, dropping Slick Rick. Who? Yeah, I just thought about this. Who should actually be helping put out a Big L album? Nas or Jim Jones?
Harlem
Who should
should
be
be Jim.
actually? It should be Jim.
I actually think it should be Cam, but
Or Cam. Well, yeah,
But the
exactly.
Harlem connection is still there. Let me ask you this, LP, because shout out to O in the Discord, man. He brought up an interesting perspective that I hadn't heard anybody else say. He said that, Jim is a clout chaser, right? And we remember we did this whole same discussion, a few years ago when 21 Savage said the Nas was irrelevant. You brought that up. So when 21 did it, they talked behind the scenes and got together for a record. All right. So it's on wax. Jim is out there on a couple interviews. Like I think one was a Complex saying he'd like to do a song with Nas because he never, once they pieced it up or whatever, everything was cool. They never got to do a record. So do you think in his warped brain that he's like saying, well, to get Nas's attention, like to maybe get on a record, that I got to be disrespectful, like, 21 was doing to get his attention so we could finally talk because he don't answer my calls or something like that. Because Nas, when he like curves somebody on a feature, they have a tendency to get in their feelings like pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, that's what's the interesting thing about Jimmy is that he started showing Nas love recently, talking about his style, rating him second to Fab all time when it comes to fashion and all that. He had like Jim had no reason to show Nas any love based off of the history that they got, right? So maybe I think that was a great point. I can't really speak on what his motives are. I just know it's nasty work now, and that to somebody saying, I see in the chat, somebody saying that how can't we understand that Jim Jones has young fans? The argument isn't based, we're not saying that Jim Jones doesn't have young fans. We're saying don't act like Nas don't have young fans. Don't act like he
Hit him
don't
with
do
that
the numbers.
10% LP. What we talk about behind the scenes, that 10%
Right.
number.
Yo, this is what's crazy about it. Jim Jones does about 800 something thousand monthly listeners. Nas does 9 million. If it's only old heads, and we know that old heads don't stream like that, and it's like we're just saying that. So how it's mathematically impossible that
let me
9 million people listening to Nas
let,
on a monthly are all 38, 40 and
guys,
up. By
but guys,
percentage, it's going to be more
Hold on,
younger
let him cook.
people.
LP, no, he's been cooking. Let me cook.
Do your thing.
Why are you worried about a guy who only gets 800,000 streams a month? Please explain that part of the game to me where I should give a fuck.
It's not a
That was the
worry. This
point,
is
because
all
he's
hip hop,
saying
but
if
that is the
Nas only
point.
got 10% of his fan base, that's still more than
No,
Jim Jones' whole fan
that's
base.
the whole point. This whole rundown that you're doing is saying that he's not worth the smoke. That's why Nas is not saying
Well,
nothing. So
it's
I'm gonna
not so
read.
much about
Hold
it's
on.
not
Let me read something. Let me read something out to you because here's the thing about when you're the greatest MC of all time. He actually already called this motion. I'm gonna read it out to you. Nas, like the Nazca lines, could only be seen from up high. Only the true understand me, but I see him as family. I saw the shit when I was 14. I counted on it. I was born with a poignant style they wanted. Never dissing for clout. Y'all know what this about. Niggas trying to deflect from the fact that people saw them fizzle out. He's already spoken to all this, guys. There's nothing to talk about. He's literally already addressed these guys and addressed the situation because the situation right now, he's been dealing with literally since he was 14 years old. He's calling it on Slow It Down. It's why it's damn near my favorite song because he's talking about what he's been dealing with in the industry the entirety of the time. He already called this shot. It's not worth the fucking smoke.
No,
The
it's not about
no,
that
it's
because
not.
we've always
It
looked
is
at
about
Jim
that.
like we
No, no, no.
always
It
looked at
is
Jim
about
for
that. You
buffoonery.
don't get to shift the goalposts about what it's about.
No,
This is
it's
about the
about the
relevancy
host.
of Nas. This is about the relevancy of Nas, and Jim Jones doesn't get to audit that in the discussion.
We
So
get to
who's
audit
the
that.
responsible?
We we get
Are the
we get to audit
podcasts
that.
like they're irresponsible? We got to be the ones that's responsible to give the people the knowledge that they don't know.
Sometimes the responsible thing to do is to not acknowledge a motherfucker that don't even get a million streams a month on his own shit.
Right. You don't know. You know what? And the thing is that first off, that's a reflection of how the streams that you do don't correlate to the attention that you can get. Right. Then second of
Correct.
all,
Smoke and mirrors.
it would be different if Nas was here right now and he was doing all this, or if he, I don't like when some people are saying that Nas is going to have shots for Jim Jones. No, he's not, because to your point, Coop, that's exactly how he thinks. But the
Right.
issue is
Not
is
worth
is
it.
that the narrative and all these different cats, Ray Daniels with his Chuck E. Cheese glasses. You know what I'm
But
saying?
Clue
Like,
was the worst. Like Clues from Queens, we used to get Clue tapes because of Nas to
Jim
not,
Jones,
really give any pushback. That's what was most
yeah,
nasty.
and it's like, dog, we checked them Clue tapes because Nas was on them in the beginning
Jim,
before X and all them really started getting on there. The people in '95 and '96 and '97 when we was getting them Clue tapes, we were trying to catch Firm freestyles. We were trying to catch QB and Mobb Deep freestyles, and Clue. And that's the issue is that the narrative has been able to go on multiple big time platforms and not be checked because people don't know the data because they don't understand that this is currently happening. Coop, you know that this is. Sean and AG know. People in the chats know, but the rest of the people don't. So we're laying down the law. You get what I'm saying?
I just look at it from the perspective of a guy that like 50 was at his peak, and this guy barely like he was like, "Oh, you don't want to play with me." Like 50 couldn't get that out of him at his best shot.
Yeah.
So like I just find it hard to believe that this is really about to be anything than what it's already been. This is kind of like what people do when it comes to him. Like he still has thrived in spite of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah, yeah.
about
I mean,
killing the narratives.
right.
I hear you. I just don't know if here's the thing about it. Like because of how this whole situation is unfolding media wise, oh no, he's the person that they're going to pick, and he knows it, and so he moves above the fray with it. And so at some point, it's like, well, us as the fan base got to move above the fray with it too, because he has. Like if this was a diss song, he would be the half a bar on the takeover. Y'all only get half a bar. Jim Jones would be the half a bar. Like Jim Jones wouldn't get no
Yeah.
Prodigy Nas action. Like he's the half a bar. He's J.O. Felony. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like it ain't hitting me like that. And when I'm watching these interviews, I'm seeing a guy that's like, this is what I'm saying. Even when Mace and Cam are clowning, they come off as rap niggas, like niggas who know they rap shit. And so even if you don't like what they saying, even if they be disrespectful to somebody else, even when they being disrespectful to Jim, you know what I'm saying? But like when they get on that rap shit, like when Cam was telling that Big L story one time about how L was acting and pulling up on niggas with them pulling the money out the trunk and all that. It's
Yeah.
like, oh no, the vibe of that feels so much more respectable and credible to me. And so when I'm hearing Jim talk, it just don't feel credible to me. And so that's the part about it. It's like, oh no, I understand everything that you're saying. And if you want to plant the flag for him, it's just like from this stuff that I've been watching this guy say, I'm like, oh no, let him keep on crashing the plane. Like keep on talking if you want to. It's like,
Well, just to that point right there, let me ask you this, Coop. You said keep on letting him talk if he wants to. Like, if we know better and let it go unchecked and don't kill these narratives, then how are we any different than the pods that he's getting on popping off about this and they're not checking them? Jada and Joe, you know what I'm saying? Bag Fuel, SO and Heineken. Like, if they're not checking them in real time, DJ Clue from Queens, who's, you know what I'm saying, came up, his mixtapes came up because Nas. If we don't check and dispel those narratives, how are we any different?
no, okay, so I don't okay, so like no, you're right.
And
And it's a
Coop,
very
hey, keep in mind, Coop,
no, that's right.
you
No, no,
were that.
no, no, no,
Remember,
no,
keep in mind, I'm a fan, so I've been on the pods with all the heads that are in the chat. We appreciate it, dog. When he wasn't getting his proper due, and we were across the street, it was cats like you that put shit where it needed to be. And literally, this whole podcast space, in my opinion, is built off of the run that Nas had and the way that you and my and all these people promoted it and
I
made shit be known when it was happening, right? So this
totally
is
agree.
just a final form of this because this has gotten to a point where it's like again, it's not cats are defending Nas, but they don't know the current, and we just want to put everything on the table so at least people might come back to this later on. They might clip it, whoever the fuck, right? We're making it known, we're making it seen. The people in the chat, the people that have been speaking about this stuff for years, that hey, this is what it is.
Yeah,
These are
Okay.
the facts and we got to set it straight if nobody else ever can. If
right.
DJ
It's
Clue
bigger than
don't want to
Jim.
say nothing,
It's the
yeah,
narrative. Yeah,
right. If
No,
Clue don't
okay.
want to do that, if Shannon Sharp don't know no better, if Ray Daniels, you know what I'm saying? If he doesn't know any better, I seen him recently just do a Back Fuel interview where I mean, Earn Your Leisure interview where he's really just starting to now he's like, oh man, you know what? I didn't look at it like Nas was that good until you broke it down, bro. All he said was that Stillmatic was a classic. He didn't even look at it that close. It's just like, who are these guys that have these platforms that aren't even willing to do half of what you did back in 2020 and 2021 when you were attacking Ebro, when you were attacking Two T's, when you guys had to put your foot down on this Nas shit. In my opinion, this is one of those moments.
Okay, so I'm going to say some things to you very honestly and candidly because you and I have spoken and broken bread face to face, and I know you've been following me on various platforms in this pod space for quite some time, and I love your takes and your perspective and your passion, and I always have, like prior to today. So everything has a double-edged sword. LP is what I found out from all this. So it's like so most of y'all know me for waving this flag, right? So I would tell you on the dual side of that, on the other side of that, waving the flag as hard as I've waved it has hurt me because my overall hip hop opinion isn't as respected as it should be. It still comes off as a Nas thing. And so it's hurt me with some of the other things that I've tried to do. And I think because of personal conversations that I've had with Taj about how he perceives things that I'm not going to share, it has altered the way that I have dealt with things because of personal things that have been shared with me that I'm not privy to share. You get what I'm saying? And so, no, I have been that guy, and that is kind of why everybody knows me in the sense, but I personally have suffered from it even in relationships within his camp. Like some things have not happened because of with the fervor that I have approached things. So sometimes you can approach things in a manner with too much intensity and the message can get lost because of that. And so while a lot of y'all have picked up on me because of my intensity and the fervor with which I approached things for years, I've pissed a lot of people off. I've made a lot of people angry. There are a lot of people in the industry that I don't know that don't fucking like me at all. You feel what I'm saying? And so when you come up here and wave the flag like this, oh no, I hear you because you sound like me. And so that's why I'm being more mindful about how you audit it because it's like, oh no, I've done exactly that. And so my perspective is just a little different now after being kind of like on this hill for about 5 years. So I don't want you to take it like I'm knocking anything that you're saying whatsoever. I think the thing that I have learned through all of this, specifically when it comes to him, is to pick and choose my battles more wisely. Because even some of the battles that I've chosen, and this is something personal I will share, it's like, oh no, it's made him think I was off the hinge a little bit, that I was taking it so personally. Like, slow it down now, you know? And
Right.
so
I mean,
that's
and you've taken more fades for it, so we're taking your fade. You know what I'm saying? We taking all fades. You feel me? So you get to chill, sit this
no,
one
maybe
back. I
I'm
think you
tired of
probably
the
got a
fade too.
cigar.
No, LP, and I admit maybe I'm just tired of the fade a little bit. There is some fatigue that come with this shit where it's like, well, no, it's like, I'm a rap guy, like not a Nas guy. It's just
Yeah.
my astute rap critique tells me he's the best motherfucker to bless the
Well, you
mic.
know what? I think that that's another issue because AG, I'm gonna alley oop to you here, where they brought up where Jim Jones brought up Shannon Sharp. He said, "Quote a Nas line," right? And Ray Daniels said the same thing where he was like, Jim Jones asked Shannon to quote a Nas line, but he can't quote it, right? So is he really a fan? And it's like, well, I
It's
only
not
remember the shit. First off, I only remember the shit of people I care to. I don't memorize shit of people I don't listen to. You get what I'm saying? So what happens with the Nas fan base is that the minute that you got, first off, if he was getting his proper due, Nas fans wouldn't come across as if they're being defensive, and if the and on top of that, like AG, speak to this, like asking me to quote a line, and then if I quote it, you tell me, oh, well, you're a Nas fan, then it's a catch-22. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because we've seen Cameron quote Nas. He done quoted
Yeah.
Clue mixtape
That's what
lines.
I
We've seen
mean. Like, oh, so
50.
LP. If Cameron was talking the way Jim is talking, I would be up here acting like you. That's my whole point. If it was Cam, I'd be
Yeah.
like, oh shit. It's like, nigga, you know better. Like, I don't know if this guy knows better. You feel what I'm saying? Like, he's
Yeah.
not ahead. It's like, how about this? Like, when you're ahead, it's like we don't just know. Like, how about this? If you were to walk into Jay's house right now, you'd be like, run down the sequence of Illmatic and it was written. He'd run it down for you in his head because he's ahead. Jim's
Yeah.
not like that. And so I don't respect some of this. If Cam was like, yo, this nigga Nas ain't relevant. If Cam was saying it, no, I would feel differently about it. Cam be knowing what he talking about. This is coming from a guy that don't know what he talking
No,
about.
that's the
A
point.
lot of these people, that have slandered Nas that I've gotten on about, you understand these have been some of the more credible journalists in our business. That's what I'm saying. I haven't been jumping on some bandwagon about people that don't do shit. No, I'm talking about Vibe Magazine at their peak slandering this guy. I'm talking about Jay slandering this guy. No, Jim Jones ain't the same level as the shit that I was talking about too. I'm not knocking your hustle, but I'm also telling you too, the attack that I was putting on was based on the level of the attack. It's like, no, it's coming from high level media people in the black media,
And
like
it
high
still
ranking
is.
black media.
And it still is. And that's the problem. Is
But
that
Jim's not that. But Jim's not that though, unless you're telling me he's a plant. Now, if you're motivated,
No.
No.
No,
I'm not saying he's a
Jim is
plant.
not the problem. Nobody ever took that's the point you missing, Coop. Nobody's taking Jim seriously. It's that if it remains unchecked, he's been on like 4 or 5 pods since this initial thing jumped off, and nobody is putting up the task. Like Shannon did the most. And the point is, it's not about what he's saying because nobody takes him seriously. But that's how narratives get started. That's how
doesn't it?
things grow and then get
Okay,
some legs. Because if it goes unchecked, then it
okay.
continues to like the whole bad beats thing. Vlad is a big proponent of that. We don't take nothing Vlad says seriously, but it's a big contingent of people out there that does. You know what I'm saying? So that's how these things get started. So it's not necessarily taking Jim Jones to task, it's taking the task all the platforms that didn't challenge anything he said, therefore it gains legs. And then to answer your question, LP, like as hip hop fans, we got to stop doing that. Like, oh, quote some bars or do this if you're so much a fan, because that's a tired argument. That just doesn't do anything but speak to your memory recall on something. That doesn't show how big of a fan you are of anything. Because even if so, if somebody's not a Nas fan and you ask me to quote a Nas like verse to you, it's not like you gonna jump over the fence and be like, yo, shit, he the illest, son. You quoted that bar to me. It's not even possible. And it doesn't give you the full scope of an artist. That's like saying, like, yo, convince me this is a 4 Michelin star restaurant, and then you ask me to give you the chicken on the toothpick, like the Chinese spot at the mall food court, to convince you of that. You ain't gonna get that from me quoting any bars or lyrics to you. So that's a tired argument. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to change anything or move the needle for anybody that you're arguing with. That's just showing like how good your memory recall is. It's 1,000 songs that I can like recite if I hear the beat come on and then go to it, but just pulling it out of thin air. You know what I'm saying? I could be the biggest fan of somebody and might not can do that to a lot of songs or whatever. So for them hating on Shannon because he couldn't quote something, that doesn't mean nothing to me. You feel me? Like it don't mean he's not a fan of Nas's work just because he couldn't quote some lyrics.
Okay, let me ask you something, just like on some eye test stuff, because sometimes I read stuff by the eye test because that's the thing to me. Like, there's a difference between media yellow journalism. There's a difference between a Jay-Z funding, certain things in his favor that may push Nas more out the spear than somebody who, when I'm watching it, it looks something that, quite frankly, appears most. It's closer to an act of the desperation at the end of somebody's career for them to stay relevant. That's what I'm saying. It's like when I
Absolutely.
watch these interviews, I'm seeing desperation more than I'm seeing inspiration and viral talk. And that's what I mean. It's like No, this ain't coming from a place of somebody being hot or popping and relevant. It's coming off as somebody that's doing it to try to stay relevant because as Nas quoted and slow it down, they stars fizzled out and now they have to chase for clout. And here's the reality of the matter. Part of why he is being still used is because, well, in the relevancy sphere, he is actually still relevant. That's what I mean. It's like, no, Jim Jones is using Nas because Nas is the one who's relevant, not Jim Jones.
Right, not the other way around. Yeah.
It's an act. So that's what I'm saying. It's an act of desperation with me, and it's like, so part of me is like, well, it's like, I was taught to be kind when somebody's desperate. It's like that's why I ain't
No.
saying.
But Coop, to your point though, to your point though, Coop, the issue is that they pick Nas because they feel they can pick on Nas, right? And
Yeah,
they don't use the lyrics because that's like again, and there's something about subjectivity. I think that when they say every MC should feel they're the best, bullshit. You get what I'm saying, bro? You're
No,
not the
I
best.
disagree. I disagree, LP. I don't think they pick one. I don't think they pull out Nas just because they feel like they can pick on him. I feel like they do that because he's the bar. You're not going to pick a mediocre rapper and say, "Yo, I'm better than that guy." I think they do it because he's
Right.
the bar. He's the standard.
okay,
Right.
so
No,
here,
no. What I'm
so
saying is that from a real quick, Coop, from a lyrical standpoint, I'm saying when they bring up Nas, what I'm saying is like where like he becomes like a punching bag. It's not because of the lyrics, because nobody's saying that they're better than him
Okay.
except for Jim Jones. It's that it's easy to pick out his relevancy, the lack of numbers, because they don't do that with Hove. They don't do
Right.
that with Snoop. They
okay,
don't
so
do that with X. They do it
absolutely
with
not. They
Nas
act like
because they
they have,
don't believe that he has the numbers that they do, and then we're proving in real time that he does. But that's why Vlad can keep on doing that. That's why it goes unchecked. If Jim Jones said, I sell more than Jay-Z, I'm more influenced, they all would have been like, you're tripping. What are you talking about? But because
Right.
it's Nas, they're just like, but Jim, man, it's not about that, man. It's about the lyrics. Nah, fuck
Well,
that.
Nas is the
Numbers too.
conundrum. Nas is the hip hop conundrum. What he said, overground and underground has never been seen. That's the
Right.
conundrum. Because in your mind, his content and what he does, you would think he's like, like one of those artists, like, no disrespect to like a Black Thought or somebody like that, but he's doing those type of numbers. Nas was a superstar. I'm
Oh,
sorry, pardon me for saying was. He is a superstar. So it's like, I mean, it's kind of confusing when they think about it because people that were in his peer group, like Fat Joe and Jada, when they're sitting there, like they didn't call back to that. Like, yo, Nas does numbers. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have the wherewithal to do that. You know what I mean? Because they got to say, like, okay, I know the numbers that I was moving. Nas had to be moving a lot more than I was moving. You know what I'm saying? But narratives, when they grow legs, you start to believe in them.
well,
And
well, AG, even a Jim Jones, even a Fat Joe, just a few years back when he was doing an interview, he said that Jay Z, and again, it's not a knock on Jay Z. This is just he said that Jay Z was the only one from his era still being current, still sounding current. This is in the middle of the KD run. He
yeah,
said that Hove was the only one still being current. You know what I'm saying? Like they
yeah,
downplay it more than they should because they really don't know about
right.
what's currently
Right.
going on,
People
right?
don't realize they overinflate. Like the gap between Jay and Nas, just number wise, was smaller than the gap between Drake and Kendrick, if we being honest, up until
Right.
this past year. Like not Jay's sales once he hit volume 2 on, their sales was like 2 to 1. Like if Nas was going platinum, Jay was going double. If Nas was going double, like Jay was doing like 3 and some change. Like they were closer than what people realized, but we lived it, and people that weren't there or people that were there give you revisionist history and act like it really wasn't even close. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
okay,
right.
Fellas, hold on. Let's get these super chats real quick, fellas.
No doubt.
Ahmad is not done with Coop.
what did he say? He said they didn't. They don't put it up there with Stankonia. LOL. I'm talking aesthetically in terms of what it provides to the listener. I'm
He's
not
not
talking about the quality. Pet Sounds is a better album than Stankonia. Okay, are you happy? It's not better than Aquemini, in my opinion, though. Okay,
Strife, what's good?
Trife, LP made the Discord proud. Man, man.
Word. Shout out to Trife, bro. Thanks for the dub, bro.
Easel.
CJ the Kid, LP, hope you've been running those miles, bro.
All day, boy.
No, pause. You running those
Yeah.
mouths, bro. Hope you was running those.
Yo,
What
man,
did
first
you
off,
mean?
hey, chat.
How's that even a pause?
Sean does
Sounds so
not
immature.
respect the pause. Look, he's going to
What do you
find
mean by
pauses
that?
where they don't exist. And if you say pause, he's going to make pretend he didn't hear the pause anyway. So it don't
Exactly.
matter, dog.
That is
You know
true.
what I'm saying?
What does that even mean?
Sean
Sean does
don't
not
honor the
adhere to
pause,
the
man.
rules of the game.
Hope you were
Yeah,
running those
yeah, yeah.
mouths, bro. What does that mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Sean is so immature.
I'm
Sean ain't talked in 20 minutes, and this is what he gonna add.
yeah, I was talking.
Do say I
Shit.
can quote Nas easily. Nobody can quote Kendrick when asked. I'm just seeing viral talk at this point. Okay, so let's kind of like round up the discussion with this. And we all need to be mindful of this as fans. And this is what I mean. I'm on the other side looking at it. And here's what we need to be realistic with. People need to forget, and we've all talked about this. When he dropped King's Disease, we thought that was a retirement album.
Yeah.
So I say this respectfully. I just lost my father this year, but he got diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer 5 years ago. The doctor gave him 1 year to live. We got 4 extra years. So when he passed, I wasn't as sad because I understood that we was on borrowed time. Y'all do understand we've been on borrowed time, right? And so all of this, even the fact that we're even getting to have this conversation about him, is based on the fact that he picked it back up and gave us some extra time. And so I really like the focus to be on that time than somebody who doesn't deserve the time of day. Because here's the reality of the matter too. Oh, how much longer is this run really about to run? We haven't heard an album in a couple of years. The Preem album is coming. What are the realistic expectations that we are going to get anything after the DJ Premier album, guys?
I am glad you said that, Coop, because all day in the Discord today, I was saying he should hang it up after that.
That's what I'm saying. Why is the talk Jim Jones instead of the fact that the greatest rapper of all time might be retiring? Because here's what people keep
because he
forgetting
don't
about
deserve. We don't deserve anything else from him at this point. You know what I'm saying? Because if he's not going to be appreciated, let this be a rap.
But think about this, AG. He's about to give us the only thing that people have really been asking for that he hasn't done.
Yep. And niggas still ain't grateful.
Once this album is done, like literally, what else is there for him to do? And so I would like the conversation to be more focused on the fact that the greatest MC of all time might be retiring. This might be his last album. That is a realistic possibility, seeing how 6 albums ago we thought he might be done. So it's like, no, real talk. I don't want to talk about Jim Jones. I want to talk about the fact that the greatest MC of all time might be retiring. That's how we honor his legacy.
Well, I think it's a combination of both because, first off, we got to honor the legacy by defending it when they don't acknowledge it, right?
There
So
you
if we're
go.
saying that he was about to retire and then he dropped 6 albums and they act like it don't exist, the best way that I can honor the greatest MC who was about to retire is by saying, hey, check this out. Don't downplay what he did. Don't downplay any of the albums from a musical standpoint because they all were nominated for a Grammy. Don't downplay them from a number standpoint because he was doing the same numbers that y'all said was relevant, but you downplay him for this, but not them for that. They're literally, Coop, on here trying to act like, yeah, Jim, well, you got it now. No, you don't got it now. And you're dishonoring the legacy by even making that comparison about all of that. In regards to Nas retiring, I don't think he's going to retire just because I think it's in him, right? And we had a conversation in the background about how like sometimes fans want more for their MCs than MCs want for themselves.
No. Y'all are being unreasonable. After he does an album from DJ Premier, there is nothing fucking else to ask for this man.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, there's not. But you're speaking from a fan standpoint because he's doing it because he loves to
literally
do it.
Done everything there is to do on the microphone with every.
That's fine. So has Jay-Z. He might still drop it. That's for the love of the game. That's why
But it ain't no y'all, because I said he should retire because the fans don't deserve it at this point. Because if this few weeks is any evidence of the love that he's getting, then I'll give you this DJ Premier album. That way the Dusty Illmatic heads can get what they want, and then I'm quietly bowing out because nobody deserves anything at that point.
Whether he drops one or not, I feel like we've already ate. Like that's why I'm not tripping about when this album drops because we just got 6. What I'm saying is that I think, in my opinion, I don't, the same way, Coop, that you've been saying that Nas looks beyond that, I feel like he looks beyond all the noise. I don't think he cares if he sells one album. He's going to drop a dope album because he has the
The
motivation to do
love,
it. And
the
I don't
love.
think that that's lost on him. I
Like
think we
Ebro
as
said, he's
fans
giving
worry
more
about
back to
that.
hip hop. He's giving more,
Right.
like Ebro said, he's giving more back to hip hop than anybody else.
Okay, so with that said, and this is what I'm trying to say. If we're all on the same page that this is the greatest MC of all time, correct? If we're all on
Absolutely.
the same page that there is a sincere possibility, because quite frankly, this rap shit don't pay like I don't know 9 or 10 other endeavors he has. Like if he's ranking what rap pays him, it probably doesn't even register in his top 10 anymore. So
Probably not.
so he's probably spending more money helping Slick Rick and Ghostface and Raekwon put their albums together and his album together than
He's
he is
an exec.
off of this shit. So we've been knowing that he's doing it for the love. But what I'm saying is, has people that are considered to be part of his core fan base. We have just spent an hour and some change talking about Jim Jones instead of talking about the Nas and DJ Premier
We've
album.
only been talking about Nas, though. I mean,
But nah,
the
don't do that,
conversation
because
has
any
been
other
like,
time that me and Sean bring up the album, like you talk about like the album ain't coming, like all that.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you the most important thing that I learned from Taj, and this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. Everybody need to listen to what I'm saying. When you put Nas's name with another rapper's name, in terms of how the media in the viral space works for marketing, is not at a benefit to Nas. It is only at a benefit to Nas when you talk about only Nas. That's from somebody inside of this camp. I don't care how anybody else feel about it. That's coming from somebody inside his camp saying, no, that's not to his benefit. And that's what other multiple people in the camp are saying. And that's a fact. And so what I am saying is that if he's the greatest MC of all time, if he's doing these Illmatic shows with an orchestra, if a DJ Premier album is about to talk, that has a core fan base, need to be the core center and focus of the discussion, not Jim Jones. This shit read Jim Jones. It says Nas and Jim Jones on our headline, not Nas and DJ Premier about to drop what may be Nas's last album. So
bro,
we
but
be careful
I
But
too.
feel
but
you.
but
But now
when
you're
we bring,
talking about like 3 to
not
6 months
LP
from
though,
now.
not
This is a
LP. How many
weekly.
times have we hold on LP? Hold on LP 1 second. How many times have we brought up the DJ Premier Nas album on this show and then you downplay it like, yo, I'm telling you that we not getting the album, no top suit and this and that. Now you want to talk about it all of a sudden.
AG, you're missing the point. Don't sit up there and try to sit up and indict something that I said weeks
It's
ago on right
did
now.
that not happen?
Fam, I'm gonna tell you like this. Yesterday's price ain't today's price. We talking about some shit that's going on right now. What's going on right now is that we know the Nas and Premier album is getting worked on right now. We did
We
not
knew
know
that before.
No, you didn't know that for certain because he's been on tour and overseas and back and forth. I know for
My
certain
nigga dropped the whole calendar. Like I said with DJ Premier.
Okay, so let me tell you something about being in the studio and working with artists. The calendar don't always go the way it say. Slick Rick just spent 4 years working on an album, fam. You didn't know that album took 4 years till he told you so. You only know what artists tell you.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I see what you're saying in general, like in the grand scheme of things, but on a weekly
Like,
episodic
here's what I'm saying.
podcast,
I know for a
you're
fact.
talking about what's relevant at that moment.
I know for a fact right now that there's actual music that Nas and DJ Premier have made. Like, there's actual music that's been made by those two guys.
You heard it?
No, I haven't heard it, but I know it's been made. But what I'm saying is that should be the focus if you think he's the greatest MC of all time. Isn't this what everybody been waiting for?
Well, yeah, but we can discuss that when it gets to that point where that's what's coming out and that's
But
what's dropping.
it's
we
rollout
didn't.
season. They just dropped the Slick Rick album. It is time to start talking about it. That's my whole point. Now, don't y'all understand what's going on? They're diverting attention
Yes.
from this album and got us talking about Jim Jones, except for the fact that this project is really
Well, Jim moved the goalpost itself away from music. One thing he touched upon was influence. So let's speak to that. Is there anything that Jim has done in the game influence? Because first he said Billboard, then he moved the goalpost and was saying he could wrap circles around him. Then he moved the goalpost. He said he made a boo-boo about the Billboard, so he said he could wrap circles around him. Then he moved the goalpost again and said influence. So before we get off this topic, is there anything Jim brought to the game that's more influential than Nas? Is anything that Jim wore more iconic than the QB chain? Coop, you just spoke to the iconic photo of Slick Rick with all the jewelry and the eye patch and stuff like that. So Nas, you know, like you said before, people go to the barbershop like, yo, go give me the 96 Nas fade. You know what I'm saying? The QB chain on the cover of QB's Finest album, iconic. Shout out to LP who hooked me up with a vinyl QB's Finest because you know I was searching for it. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you, bro. So like, you know, all these things that Nas brought to the game, even on the influence side of things, is there anything that Jim has done with the True Religions or the Chain Wallets or anything like that as a collective? Not just him. He's taking credit for a movement as a collective that was Dipset that he's brought to the game that's more influential than Nas. Anything?
That's what I mean. Even with the Dipset shit, the influence, that's Cam. That's
Yeah.
why if
Right.
Cam was saying this, it would be different because it's like, oh no, Cam, like, how about this? Dipset is the only New York culture that influenced Atlanta music in the last 25 years, but that's Cam, that's not Jim. That's why it's like, oh no, if Cam was saying that, I'd be like, because ain't no New York niggas influenced Atlanta or Southern culture except for really Dipset the last 25 years. So if Cam want to speak to some relevancy and some cultural things because of what he did as the front man of Dipset, it's like, no, that deserve all the smoke, because then it's like that's somebody saying some legit shit coming from a legit place that was legit popping when some of Nas's started to fame. And when I say that, when I say started to fame, I'm not saying it from the perspective of he's not hot, he's not dope anymore. That's just what happened. Stevie Wonder wasn't as hot as he was when he made Hotter Than July as he was when he made Songs in the Key of Life 3 years before. Like, that's just kind of how the game goes. So Cam can speak to that with bars, with relevancy, with albums, with cultural influence and impact enough that it's like, oh no, I think that needs some smoke. If Cam and Mace pulling up on their show, which goes viral weekly for the shit that they talk, oh no, it deserves some smoke. I just
They
don't know.
haven't spoken on this yet, no?
Like how about this?
No.
And y'all
Okay.
are forgetting this. I've always been more about the media person that's letting the idiot blow the smoke than the idiot blowing the smoke. So if
That's
we
what we're
want to,
doing.
the problem is,
That's literally
That's
what
what
we're
this whole
doing, though,
point
Coop.
was.
well,
Literally.
no. But y'all been talking about Jim. Y'all ain't been talking
No,
about
we
Q and
haven't
all
been
these
talking
other.
about so Coop,
I
respectfully.
just went on a whole rant about like if it's unchecked.
Every stat
No,
that
you
we've
talking
been
about not
bringing
being
up is
checked, but
about
we talking about what Jim
Nas.
said. Like, no. Let's talk
No,
about why somebody like
Jim Jones is the catalyst
no. Listen to what
or
I'm saying.
why the discussion started.
Listen,
We have not been talking about Jim Jones like that. It's been 80 to 90%. It's that Jim Jones is the one that's re-bringing this conversation. And we've been saying that all these media heads are letting him slide with the conversation, which is why we need to break down the facts and honor an MC, like you said, that was about to retire with this 6-album run. That's literally what we're doing right now.
no. So journalistically speaking, that's not what we're doing, because if we were doing that, we would be breaking down why DJ Clue, who is from Queens, is allowing.
I just said that 20 minutes ago, no?
No. AG, you said it. We haven't had any sort of discourse, dialogue, or breakdown about it. You saying it doesn't mean nothing if we on discourse and dialogue and break it down. That is
Because
not.
Well, how
you
do you
went
feel
down a
about
totally
that?
different
Hold
road
on,
with it.
respectfully, I wasn't finished talking, gentlemen. That is not what we have been discording and dialoguing about. At no point during this conversation have we addressed DJ Clue, who is from Queens, and why. LP, what you said was Clue was the reason, Nas was the reason we was pulling up on the Clue tapes. Well, hold on. Well, let's stop right there and address why he's letting Jim talk this way. That's the discussion, not Jim.
So do your thing.
You the one that pulled up on Hip Hop Talks with all the stuff. See, I'm auditing.
Yeah.
So,
So,
but
bro,
this is what I'm
you're
saying. I
free
don't
to.
have a problem with Jim. Jim is coming off like a desperate guy. This goes back to a media narrative that has been associated with Nas for his whole career. And this is just me being realistic with you guys. We're probably at the end of this shit. So instead of quibbling about all this, I want to enjoy what's left of it, because we don't know how much left we're getting. What we just got left is extra. That's why I'm not really worried about this shit. It's like, oh no, at this point, for how long we've waited for a Nas and Preem album now, because he hasn't done anything since what, 2 summers ago?
All right, if that's the case, let's talk about this feature verse on the Clips album then.
Let's get these super chats. We have a bunch of super chats, fellas. Hold up.
Days Trader had on some Ed Hardy's and chain belts for sure. That
He
was
did.
Days Trader.
Yeah.
007, it's about what the bag looks like. Nas moves like the Godfather. He's silently probably a billionaire. If that's realized, he gets the same shine Jay does. But maybe he doesn't want that. You know, when you report to Forbes, certain problems come with it. Armand, thank you, Coop. LP, keep up the good work. Armand, get off the chat. Armand, go somewhere. You go away. I want you to go away. I want you to go away. I want you to go
So,
away.
yo, appreciate the $10 joint. No caption on that. But since we need to focus on current Nas moves and music and get off Jim, let's talk about the clips feature then.
More super chats. More super chats. Hold up.
Peace. Leo Cohen, Rosenberg, and Vladimir. They're causers who are down with Jay. Nas a threat to the industry. Bottom line, political. Okay, so this is one. Okay, so let me say this.
The Deuce was one more, wasn't it?
Oh, we got one.
Yeah, we got one more. No,
I think the fact that fans are fighting this battle for Nas is dope. I actually think Nas should be flattered. Pause if necessary. No, there's
no pause necessary.
No, there's no pause necessary. Okay, so I'm just in the point of wanting to win the war. You know, so it's like I'm not sure what we're fighting. Like, we fighting Jim Jones? It's like, no, I don't want to fight Jim Jones. Fuck Jim Jones.
Dog, and you're not wrong, Coop. It's just that, again, Jim Jones is just the catalyst for all these platforms that are letting him slide with the shit. So yeah, again, when I bring up Clue, if you want to jump in and really dissect it, then cool. But it was never about him as much as if he's the catalyst for why this is going on still.
So I do, because I'm going to tell you something. I didn't even know Clue was on a podcast till Sean sent me this clip. And that's what I mean about people chasing for clout. Because it ain't just him really that's chasing for clout, guys. When the last time Clue been relevant? That's what I'm saying. Like, do you understand? See, this is how it works. See, now he's super successful beyond all of their imaginations. You see, they loved it when he didn't have a lot of money. They were down with him when he didn't have a lot of money. He wasn't no threat when he didn't have a lot of money. Now he got more money than all of them combined. And so it does seem like a little like, you know, ganging up on the guy. But they're ganging up on the guy because they can't compete with the guy. That's the thing that I'm trying to get people to understand. It's like, oh no, look at the people. It's like Clue. When I saw Clue, I was like, first of all, I've seen Clue with gray hair. It's like, first of all, you airbrushed all your shit. I've seen you with gray hair, nigga. Your shit is airbrushed. You sitting up here trying to look like you 25 still.
He was balding on backstage.
Right. That's what I'm saying. 20 years ago.
Are you balding in 1999, bro? What's going on with you, man?
Yo, real quick, let's get these last two super chats.
We got more super chats?
Yeah, we got Deuce right here.
Appreciate you, bro.
Where Deuce at? Nas is the greatest. I don't care what anyone says. Illmatic alone. Then has a 2 series recently. Knock it off. Well, that's what I'm saying. He is the greatest. But look at all these shows that even they are trying to slow Nas from making the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. If you're telling me that there's an agenda to prevent him from something, like, because here's the thing, I feel like there was always an agenda initiated by Jay to make sure that Nas didn't get the same radio play, get the same markets, get the same thing. Payola, try to freeze Nas out of certain markets, try to make it seem like Nas shit wasn't popping, say little slick shit that maybe the average rap fan don't catch. It's like, oh no, I'm catching all of that. I'm down with all that. I still remember that vibe. It was written, that shit gonna stick in my mind for the rest of my life.
And remember whose wife that was running Vibe at the time. That was Elliot Wilson's wife.
That's Elliot Wilson's wife, who's a better journalist than him. That's what I mean. It came from a credible source. It came from a more credible source than him. Like, she's the writer in the family, not him. That's what I've been saying. That's what makes it more egregious. At least, how about this? If it was him, I wouldn't be as upset. It's like, well, I expect your Jay-Z bias ass to do that shit. I didn't know you were bringing it in your house, though, nigga. You bought it in your house?
Yeah, and I just think what's happened is that narrative has just become the narrative when it comes to him. And that's why they can't defend it. And Jim Jones, of all people, or any MC, 21 Savage, whoever, feel comfortable saying that because they just took the narrative to be a fact, and it's not. You know what I'm saying?
So who was that? Simba, Tierra Whack. It's the same thing every few months.
Okay, so why aren't you conditioned to understand what this is? Like, this is what I'm saying. Okay,
I'm fine. Like, it's not like it's real life. It's like, who cares? You know what I'm saying? We've like within the context of hip hop, and we're having a discussion. Then of course we're going to talk about it with the passion and within this. In reality, I don't.
Let me ask you all.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna like the shit regardless.
Let me ask you all something legitimately. Unless the other guy from Brooklyn's being mentioned, most people tend to think, or I mean, I guess what Kendrick is doing now might make people from his era feel that way. But outside of like some Kendrick and Jay-Z talk, isn't most, like, by his peers, he's the guy now. Like, because his peers say it in spades. 50 says it, Face says it, Ghost, Ray. Like
Golden Child.
Yeah, as far as the peer group is concerned, he's the greatest. As far as the albums, he's the greatest. As far as the bars, he's the greatest. Like, he's he's the greatest in a lot of respects. And so I'm saying that's what I mean is it's like, well, this media thing is probably gonna die this way, guys. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's been going on the entirety of the time. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like, oh no, I just got done being the main person fighting it for the last 4 5 years, and these niggas still pulling this shit. This is
Right.
just
I always compare Nas to Tesla, right?
this is
Nikolai
how the game.
Tesla,
This is how
where
the game
where
gonna
where
go, guys. No matter how hard we fight, is what I'm saying. The game
right,
gonna.
right. No, exactly. That's what, like, me personally, just in the real world scheme of things, it is what it is, right? Like, Nas took that approach when everybody was trying to jump on Budweiser commercials and do all these things. He was talking about hip hop is dead on Untitled. He said, "Fuck y'all, I can go gold with it." He has already, like, that's the pros and the cons that come with being a true artist. Just like Tesla gets revered as the most important scientist and all that stuff, but Edison gets all the praise because he did all the patents and everything. But all the people know who
Tesla's
Tesla
really the
was.
genius.
Is exactly
Yeah,
right.
Tesla's the
But
genius. Edison's a thief.
right, and I think what's happened is that because the narrative, because the mainstream was controlled for so long, and Nas didn't care either way to be a part of it. The man signed to Def Jam, knowing that the perception would be that he was going under Jay, even though he knew that that wasn't what it was. He didn't give a fuck that everybody else would still think that way. But the problem is that 20 years later, people still try to act like that's a legitimate narrative. So I do think with people like you, look, as a fan, I think you guys have done a great job. All the other pods, Rap Roundtable, all of them. I think that the grassroots podcasting is what's been able to even get us to a point where we're shining a light on this stuff and being able to have these conversations. You brought up Taj. Much respect to Taj. I remember when Magic 2 came out and she was in the station head running the fucking streams to try to get it to the 16K because it was so important to get those sales. I was in those station heads, right? So I mean, yeah, so it's easy in hindsight to talk about, man, well, it's not, he's going to retire, all that stuff. But at the moment when this stuff is happening, we very much cared about what that commercial appeal or success or something like that was going to be, right? So it kind of works both ways. And I think what's
No,
happening is that the narrative, I think that there's still that media base that is starting to defend Nas more, but they still don't even know how much they're missing. And that's what this is really about. You get what I'm saying? Again, to your point, it ain't about Jim Jones. Who gives a fuck? It's about y'all are letting everybody else, y'all are letting him slide with this shit.
so how about this, LP? And I'm gonna hold myself accountable for it because maybe I should have been the one to stir the pot. Oh no, what I'm trying to say is that what I've learned from all of this is that it's okay to audit these circumstances and to check a clue. But what we really need to be doing as part of a core fan base really is being more proactive than reactive. And so when I'm speaking to potential retirement talk, that should be the fervor bubbling from within the fan base before all of this happened. Like, oh shit, like this Nas and DJ Premier album might be it. Like, we should be creating that narrative for it, like on a grassroots level, instead of waiting for something to catch our ire. There's different ways to be supportive of your favorite artist. And what I've noticed is that, and that's why I'm saying I'm gonna hold myself accountable for it too. Oh no, more reactionary than proactive. He's been off the scene musically outside of some guest appearances for 2 years. We just got 6 albums in a very short amount of time. He's doing an album with DJ Premier. It feels a little retirement-ish. And so has a core fan base. I think we should do a job of creating that type of narrative to create excitement for the music and the project. Because the thing about him, for most people who love him and think he's the greatest, oh, it relates right back to the music usually first. There's other things. There's the 96 fade, there's the record sales, there's all that. But it is about the music when it comes to this man first. And as a core fan base, I don't want us to get so lost in checking Clue or checking Jim Jones that we're not being proactive in promoting what could possibly be his last album. Like, we need to treat it like that. So all I'm really asking of you and the fan base and the Discord is all that. I don't have a problem with anything that you said or what you put down. You actually sound like me a few years ago. But let's create some narratives for him with the same fervor is what I've learned. Like, we don't do a good job in this fan base about creating
Right.
narratives that offset
Dog,
the narrative.
there's look, because Nas is enough to fill up a whole month worth of show, right? Because there's also the fan base is a problem because it's so splintered, right? He does have a youthful fan base who does appreciate Hit Boy and all them. Then you have a whole separate fan base that's very loud that not that and only want the Premier shit. I think that DJ Premier is going to be the first
Like,
album that the
like
base across the board is going to be able to support. But I think even within the Nas fan base,
this.
it's splintered, and there's
Hold on,
they're not
hold on,
everybody's not on the same page.
hold on. Say it again. So that would be the problem that I have, not with what you're necessarily saying, but with the whole shit of it is like, well, can we get on the same fucking page? Like, how about this? If the fact that he just gave us 6 albums, quote unquote, past his prime, and all of those albums were like the worst album is really good, and the best of it is classic stuff. If he's doing a whole album with DJ Premier, if we can't get on the same page now and promote it and
Right.
get what I'm saying, and that's my thing about the other narrative with the Jim Jones side, because I'm like, oh no, like let's take all of that energy, all of that focus, and have a potential retirement party conversation that runs these numbers up like, hey, our favorite guy might be done. We need to go make sure everybody else is checking for it and make sure the numbers are higher than 20,000, 60,000. Like if this is his send off, let's do the right thing by him and send him off the right way. Fuck what Jim Jones talking about. I want to send him off the right way. If this,
I think this is going to be the album that's going to be the closest to getting the full Nas fan base behind it because it is with DJ
right,
Premier. Because you got
right.
so many of the old heads that they only want Nas from a certain era and they don't appreciate Hit Boy's run, which I think is fucking crazy. I think the music in itself is dope, regardless of who made it. Right? I think if you said DJ Premier produced Magic, if you just said Premier did it, they would have loved it. All of them, all the Twitter heads, everybody would have been on board with that. So I feel like everything that you're speaking on, this is going to be the album that's closest going to get us to where the whole fan base is on board with it. But you also have the fan base that Magic 3 drops and it's not this and it's not that. And again, I don't, to me, I feel like I'm indifferent about it in a real world sense. Like it is what it is. But I also think that that's what comes with being a legacy artist and being an artist that's done so much because we see it in rock all the time. The U2 fan base, there's people that like a certain U2 sound that don't like the other ones. There's the same thing with Blink 182 or Red Hot Chili Peppers, and you'll have they're not that. I want this, and you know what I mean. And like so, Nas is one of the only artists, probably the only artist in hip hop that's been able to generate the type of fan base and the type of music that's been so diverse over time that you have pockets of fans that only want a specific sound coming from them. And I think Premier album is the closest that we're going to get to everybody being on the same page about it. Because maybe the Nas, I think the Kanye album was one too, but it was just it was trash execution. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like since then, the Premier album is the closest to kind of getting close to what you're saying. I think across the board, when they drop the album, is going to be the most Nas or whatever fucking shit that we're going to see as far as Nas fans getting behind him on that.
Well, if we're moving on to new things, the only new things that we got, that's imminent on the horizon is this feature coming up. So, and in this feature on the Clips album, he talks very much about his legacy, right? You know what I mean? The snippet that we heard, he's talking about what he's done for the game. So, who has heard the snippet?
Yo, hold up. We have one more super chat. One more super chat.
Nas music is at levels you smoke a cigar instead of a blunt. I believe. I agree. I agree.
I'm getting high, bro.
Let me
To each his own.
let me answer that question, AG.
Smoking a mini cigar right now. These are cigar minis.
I wanted all of you guys to get your points off because this is a passionate conversation to have because we all have a high level of appreciation for Nas. And I really feel that this conversation was needed, but I just want to put my piece on it so I can answer AG's question because I think it leads into AG's question more than anything else. The thing is, this is not about Jim. And that's why when I put in the title head or put in the actual headers, Jim versus his imagination, because it's not Jim versus Nas. It's Jim versus the imagination that people are giving him. These young heads are giving him that, and they're talking about fashion. They're talking about his influence when it comes to fashion, and not so much as the music. The thing is, fellas, Coop, I get exactly where you're coming from. I get where all of you guys are coming from because all things can be true. Nas and Jim should not be spoken in the same sentence, in no capacity, on no platform, in no forum.
Epa!
But that's not the bigger problem. The bigger problem is you got the hip hop heads who have the platforms that are not checking that at the front door. They're giving him an opportunity to speak ill on someone that they hold high, someone that they feel is one of the best for them. And I'm talking about Jada. I'm talking about Joe. I'm talking about Clue, who's from Queens. I'm talking about Esso, who knows hip hop. I'm talking about these other
He's from Queens too.
from Queens too. So he knows what it is. And those are the ones to me that has somewhat failed the hip hop community, if you will. Because this generation, this era doesn't know Nas as much as we know Nas. We grew up with that. Think about it. We came up in 91, we were like what 10 and 11. You know, you like what 8 or 7, right? So we grew pause with Nas and his discography. We understood what Illmatic meant to us. We understood what It Was Written meant to us, what I Am meant to us. We understood the battle. We understood the legacy. We saw the low points, if you will, with Nostradamus. We saw the rescinding of the high points where he regained his steps and took on one of the biggest artists of hip hop, period. We've seen those things. We remember when he was mentioned amongst the greats, the kings of Big, of Pac. You know, we remember those things because we were there in real time. We consumed that in real time. Pause. But now this generation and hip hop community do a poor job by teaching the youth. They do a poor job by bringing them up. Our OGs, our uncles, our cousins, our older cousins, they told us about Rakim. They told us about Kane. They made us appreciate those guys because they knew how important that part of hip hop was for us growing up. Jim is 3 years younger than Nas. So he's not like 10, 15 plus years younger. It's not like he's looking up to Nas from that perspective. He's only 3 years removed from Nas. But
Looks 20 years older.
Facts, but he's using it as a catalyst to say, I'm more connected to these 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. Like that's a thing. And it's not a thing. It's actually a sad thing because you're not bringing them up. Not just, Jim doesn't have, let's be honest, Jim doesn't have an era. He doesn't have an era. Let's be clear with that. So he can't compartmentalize his era of hip hop and make it seem as if it's the thing. Hip hop has been ubiquitous since the actual inception of hip hop. It's everybody's thing. Everybody has an era. But what I'm saying is, fellas, and we can move on from this, is that the argument is not Jim versus Nas. The argument is hip hop versus Nas. The hip hop community versus Nas. The hip hop community versus all of the legends that we don't do the right thing by giving them what they need. This is a sad moment for hip hop because we're talking more about Jim Jones' viral moment because he wants the viral moment versus, like Coop said, versus the things that we should be celebrating for Nas about to drop this joint with Preem.
So, Sean, if I just may real quick, first of all your points were excellent. That was like an excellent roundup and wrap up of the conversation. I feel like for this, because Sean, you spoke to something. You talk about growing up with his discography. Well, I feel like as a fan of a lot of guys, because I'm a fan of Nas, but I'm a fan of Jay, I'm a fan of Scarface.
Yeah.
I could go on and on with these guys. It seems this is the only fan base, because I'm part of different fan bases. It's like I'm part of that Clips fan base. You know what I mean? This is the only fan base that I'm a part of where it feels like they haven't enjoyed their time being a fan. And that's why I'm kind of taking a different approach this time around. Because to be a fan of Nas is actually to kind of constantly be at war with the media, and it feels like the factions that appear to always be against him. And I think he and his fan base deserve of time of just enjoyment. And I think this is the time, because I don't know how much time is left. Like that 6-album run, like we not getting that out of another rap artist at that age. And also too, we got to look at it. We was talking about how many shots he had left in the tank that he took when he made those projects. But he did take those shots, guys. He did take those shots. This does have a ending. It had a beginning. It has an ending. And I would like this fan base to enjoy it more and enjoy this time, because I think that would be more enjoyable for him too, to see that his fan base isn't in some sort of constant quibble and battle and fight with something, and they're just enjoying what may be his final run. I think he might like that too.
I, like going back to what I said a bit earlier, I think that it's a situation where sometimes fans want more for you than you might want for yourself, right? Fonte talked about it, where, a fan said, I want you to be the best. And he's like, dog, I don't care about being the best. Like, that's what you want from me. So what happens with Nas is that I think a lot of his fan base, they want that for him. I think he wants that for him. He talks about it in his music. The issue is that he gets disrespected so much that the fan base feels like they have to defend him. I think that's across the board with any artist and any platform, whether it's wrestling,
Like,
boxing, like they're any and look at Kobe right now. Like, on a side note, look how they're treating Kobe, and look how people feel like they got to defend Kobe because now you want to talk out of the side of your mouth because Kobe's gone, and now all of a sudden T Mac, who couldn't pick it out the first round, I was in Orlando, says he could have won like Kobe did. And now you have, like, I just think that when legends get disrespected, and it's been happening for an extended period of time, the fan base by default is going to be defensive because you make them defensive. You get what I'm
okay,
saying?
so,
And then and real quick, just to show Jim Jones his appreciation too, right? I won't get beyond this point. Jim Jones, like, in my opinion, the first time that New York hip hop became local was in '06, when the South really took over, and then Jim Jones and that Purple City gang, they ran the tri-state area, right? So where that big influence comes, I think I saw Jarvin there talk about maybe in Harlem they feel that way, that yeah, they were doing shows in Connecticut, they were doing shows in Boston. That influence that he had, it was a big deal, in Providence, Rhode Island. It just didn't expand to the rest of the states. So he has this perception of being bigger than what he is because he does get that love. Like that kid who's talking about him, he's from New Jersey. Of course, you might have feel that way about him because he was big locally in these areas. So I do at least want to shoot
like,
Jim
okay,
Jones some bail on that.
okay. Here's just some further perspective, because Sean really, I feel like, made a keystone point where you talk about growing up with an artist discography. So when we're talking about this fan base, and this is what I mean about how this fan base responds. And listen to what I'm about to say. You can't tell Snoop's fan base shit about Snoop. Snoop ain't made anything that I think was even an above average album since the Blue Carpet Treatment, which I think is a great album, by the way. I love the Blue Carpet Treatment. I think it's
I went
arguably,
back to it because of y'all, because I stopped listening to anything Snoop related, and it's actually it holds up very well. I think
yeah.
Snoop is starting to have an underrated catalog, actually.
His catalog is very underrated. But if anybody try to clown Snoop, his fan base will look at you sideways and just be like, he made the Chronic and Doggy Style. Like, like they treat the smoke that he gets like they're above the fray of it. And the Nas fans need to like take some of the page out of it. They be like, he made the Chronic and Doggy Style. Like, nigga, stop playing. Like, go somewhere else with that. Go somewhere else with that. And so some of the Nas fan base, instead of fighting the way that we fight, I've learned maybe need to be like, so he made Illmatic and it was written, right? Like, he was really the first New York nigga rapping with Dre for real. He wasn't just like saying that for real. Like, stop playing with me. Like, do you know your shit? Like, sometimes we get too invested in it, and I don't see another all-time great artist fan base get invested into the argument. Now, the slander is different too, but at some point, it's like, well, we have to understand the slander exists and kind of like be
Right.
like, he made Illmatic. Shut the fuck up. He's still performing Illmatic because Illmatic's more important than every rap album ever made. All right, the end. The same way we talk about Doggy Style. Illmatic's in that same type of vein of rap album. It's like, well, it really don't matter if he didn't do anything else anyway. What the fuck is you talking about? It don't matter. Like, it didn't matter what Public Enemy did after they made It Takes a Nation of Millions. It didn't matter what NWA did after they made Straight Outta Compton. It didn't. It didn't matter what Dr. Dre did after he made The Chronic. It didn't matter what 50 did after he made Get Rich. DMX with It's Dark and Hell is Hot. We got to treat it that way. Be like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Next.
I think it's a give and take because I think people have done that to the detriment of his career, right? Because they only say, well, he got Illmatic. What else? Everything else, right? Like, and I think
Snoop
that
only
that's
got
what's
Doggy
happened.
Style.
Well, the
That's what
thing,
I'm saying. People talk about it
well,
like it's not enough. Yes, it is.
well, the thing is that Snoop has Doggy Style, and it's so much more than everything else that he can lean on Doggy Style because everything else is like right here. He has a lot of shit with Illmatic, but somebody would say it was written, and then you got like all of that. right there that gets dismissed. So again, even the people that were even in defense of Nas, they went back to Illmatic and it was written. So it's easy for Jomo or anybody else to be like, yeah, that was in '94. I was in high school. Well, again, going back to to what we were discussing earlier, that's the case now in 2023 and 2024 and 2020, all these years in the 20s. It's been the same this decade. You don't got to go back 30 years. We can go back 3 years and you're not touching that, you know? So I agree with you in the fan base shit, but at the same time, what other legend, and you know, people are talking about it in hip hop in general about how we don't honor our legends, right? But name another MC that gets disrespected like this. I saw somebody say maybe Pac, possibly. Now you're starting to see more of disrespect for Pac.
As
But
an
name
MC,
another MC
maybe.
that gets disrespected so much that the base feels like they need to. And then, to Nas's credit, name an MC that can cultivate the kind of passion out of his fans to want to defend him to this
Right.
point. Because a
But
lot
this,
of MCs, they're just gonna let that shit go.
but
You
this
know
is
what I'm
also
saying?
but this is also the other part of part the fan base needs to understand. Oh, the MC has done an excellent job of defending himself because everybody that has stepped up has caught the fucking fade. Right.